Hello, everybody. Welcome to the event. Who is excited to be here tonight? Amazing. We love to hear that. My name's Adam.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Sean.
And I see people, they're getting ready, getting seated. Don't feel rushed. It's okay. Jeremy will be here in a moment. But before he comes out, we thought it'd be really fun to do some science demonstrations that explain the whole Artemis mission. And Rachel, it looks like you're dressed beautifully to kick us off.
Absolutely. So I am the Earth. My friend Sean here is the Moon. And this is actually pretty close to the relative scale of the Earth and the Moon. The Moon is about a quarter the size of the Earth, fifth largest moon in our solar system. But in terms of distance at this scale, we're too close. We need to separate. All right. So move back. Keep going. More. Keep going. Keep going.
Rachel?
Yeah?
I ran out of space.
Oh. Well, come back out here. We're gonna show the orbital path that Jeremy took to the moon. And if we actually were gonna show the scale distance based on this size, you'd have to be out on the street. So the moon is really far away. So we have our lovely space launch system rocket here. And where did the rocket lift off from? Does anybody remember?
Say it out loud.
I hear Cape Canaveral, I hear Earth. Yes, so Kennedy Space Center, Florida. Here it is. That's all right. So we have the rocket, and it exerted an enormous amount of thrust, energy to leave Earth's gravity. It lifted off of the planet. Adam is going to catch it and is going to travel around the Earth. How many times did the spacecraft fly around the Earth before it made its journey to the moon? Twice, that's right. All right, one more time. And then when we get here, this is the key moment, translunar injection. This is the last time the main engines burned to carry the Artemis II crew onward to the moon. So off it goes.
All right, everyone, let's make an engine noise. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Beautiful, thank you.
All right, and the crew broke so many records. As we know, they flew farther than any humans have ever traveled before. They saw things on the moon that no human eyes had ever seen before. And they took that flight through, from that initial burn, slingshot around the moon and came all the way back to Earth just with that initial firing. So they're going incredibly fast. So what do we need to slow them down? Atmosphere, I hear atmosphere right here, that's right, yes, so the atmosphere. So if you all rub your hands together really fast, you'll notice they're gonna start to get hot. So that's frictional forces. The crew of Artemis II rode a fireball through the atmosphere, temperatures reaching about half the surface of the sun, 3,000 degrees, and they traveled about 35 times the speed of sound, making Jeremy Hansen now the fastest Canadian. And then, of course, they splashed down in the Pacific Ocean safely, and what a journey it was. Now, it takes, as I mentioned, so much energy to leave the gravity of our planet. So let's take a closer look at some of the forces at play when we launch a rocket to the moon.
So what we're showing you here is the Space Launch System rocket, the SLS rocket, as many of us know it as. And there is about 3.9 million kilograms of thrust that rocket's generating to push it up into space and carry those astronauts around the Earth and then to the moon. And we call this, in science, there's a action and a reaction. So for action and reaction, we thought we'd do a fun experiment using a leaf blower and my friend Adam over here. So Adam, do you mind holding on to this leaf blower for me?
Of course.
Okay, awesome. So what we have is we have a pretty powerful leaf blower, as small as it looks, it's quite powerful. And we have Adam. What we're going to do is, Adam, I want you to turn on the leaf blower. It's going to push air in this direction. Which way is Adam going to go? Point with your hands. Yeah, this direction, okay. I saw someone pointing up. No, they're not going up. Always one in the crowd. This direction. Okay, so Adam, are you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to count down from 3, and on 1, you're going to turn it on. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, you can take it off. Not very dramatic. And we had a problem here. Well, even though there's all this force going in this direction from the leaf blower, Adam was feeling the force, right? But because he's on the ground, there's too much friction, so it's not pushing you towards me. So we need a less frictionless platform for you to stand on, and that's what we have right here. So we have a spinning platform. Adam, do you mind standing on it? Awesome, and now we are going to turn on the leaf blower, and let's see what happens this time. So Adam, are you prepared?
I'm prepared.
Is your wife in the audience?
I think so.
Okay, is there... Oh, over there, okay.
Right over there, here we go.
Can I give the hand... Okay, he's okay to do this? Okay, awesome. Thanks, Caitlin. All right, so you can turn it on. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, there you go. So now he's starting to move. This looks like a fun ride. Now, I want you to take it off, but stay on the platform. So take it off. And although he took it off, he is still spinning. He has all that momentum. In fact, if he was in space right now, he would be spinning forever unless there was an external force, something outside pushing or affecting him to stop that spinning. And this was very, very important, as Rachel mentioned earlier, about that translunar injection. When the astronauts finally burned those final engines and launched them straight to the moon to move around, they would have continued in a straight direction, but of course the gravity on the moon pulled them around the moon and sent them straight back to Earth. And that seemed like a fun ride that you're spinning around, like cool joyride.
Yeah, it was lots of fun.
Yeah, I would like...
You know what I found?
Oh.
Did you find something over there, Rachel?
Oh, cool. No way. A hovercraft? What was that doing backstage? It's really strange. You've seen these before, right, Rachel?
Of course,
Yeah?
of course.
Sean, are you familiar with hovercrafts?
I've never seen that before.
Oh, okay, well, they're really cool. They're devices that we can use, of course, to travel across land. And what they do is use 2 devices on top that have some sort of motor in them. They force air downwards, and then underneath the hovercraft, there's this little cushion. It inflates with air and allows you to glide around.
Cool.
In fact, it's a lot like the SLS rocket, right? Everyone sees the flames coming out of the rocket. Yeah? Which way are the flames pointing? And which way is the rocket going? And we call that action. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate that. Yeah, action reaction. It's the exact same thing with the leaf blower here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna have Sean come over here, take a seat. I'll let you ride on it.
I gotta try it?
You've never seen one before, so
Yeah.
go ahead, yeah. Put on your hearing protection there, beautiful. Amazing. And Rachel, why don't you try and give Sean a push? Why isn't it working? Tell me. Friction! Yeah, take your hands, rub them together. It's that same force. There's too much friction between the base of the hovercraft and the stage. How do we reduce that friction? We turn on the leaf blowers. Lovely. Okay, I think we're ready to give it a shot. Here we go. Turn it on. Woo-hoo!
Here we go.
Hey, there we go. Woo-hoo.
That is so cool.
Hey, look, it's our CEO. Amazing.
Hi, Paul. Oh my gosh, that did look like so much fun, didn't it?
For sure.
Oh
looks
my
amazing.
goodness. I wonder if that's as much. I bet Jeremy had maybe even more fun floating around in microgravity.
Well, possibly. We'll have to ask him. So get your questions ready in mind. Thank you so much, everybody, and we hope you have a great day. Thanks, everyone.
You guys are amazing. Good evening and welcome everyone. My name is Paul Courtnar and I'm proud to be with you tonight on behalf of the Ontario Science Centre. It is wonderful to see so many space enthusiasts and young space enthusiasts together in one room with us tonight. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathered on land that has been cared for by Indigenous peoples since time immemorial. This place is situated on the ancestral lands and territories of the Anishinaabe Nation, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat peoples. Today, this land is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. And we are grateful to live and learn and share knowledge here. Tonight, is truly something special. It's not every day that we have the opportunity to connect with one of Canada's most inspiring space explorers. Thank you to the Canadian Space Agency for their partnership, and the Ontario Heritage Trust and our venue partner, the Elgin and Winter Garden Theatres, for hosting us in this beautiful, historic place. We had the honor of hosting Canadian Space Agency astronaut Colonel Jeremy Hansen in 2023 when his role in the Artemis II mission was first announced. To see that journey continue and to share it with all of you tonight is incredibly meaningful. Jeremy has spoken often about being inspired by science as a child, including through visits to the Ontario Science Centre. His story is a powerful reminder of why our work matters. Because in this room tonight could be a future astronaut, a future engineer, a future scientist, or the teacher who inspires them all. At the Ontario Science Centre, we believe in the power of experiences that ignite imagination and launch lifelong journeys of discovery like this one here tonight. That momentum will continue this summer at our interim home at Harbourfront Centre with brand new hands-on experiences, including our new space hall. And we're looking ahead with great excitement to our future home at Ontario Place, where we will continue to inspire generations to come. Tonight is about exploration, connection, and possibility. As part of the first crewed mission to the moon in over 50 years, Jeremy's journey is extraordinary. From a science-curious kid here in Ontario to helping lead humanity's return to deep space, his story shows us what is possible and is inspiring to a new generation. He'll be out here very soon. To begin, here's a short video of the Artemis II mission, and then we'll welcome him with a launch countdown. so much for joining us.
Thank you. Hello, Toronto. That's amazing. That's too much. Thank you so much. So, as you just saw, Reed, Victor, Christine, and I did actually fly around the moon. We've got the video and the pictures to prove it. But I still have to remind myself sometimes that that actually happened. But on day 7, when we were on our way home, we were having our second opportunity to connect with our families, one after the other, using the video conference capability that we had on board, which was really special for us, to just process a little bit of our experience with our families and share a little bit about what had just happened as we flew around the far side of the moon. But one of the things that each family, one after the other, was telling us, and we were sharing after our calls, was that I don't think you guys really understand how many people are paying attention down here on Earth to what's going on up there. And that was, we sort of like, oh, that's okay, that sounds great. And then we got back and we really started to get a sense of it. And like that energy that you just had when I came on stage, to get a sense of that. And I just have to say, it's really special to spend just a little bit of time with you today, because what you did back here on Earth was the most moving part of the mission. People embracing the positivity of 4 humans supported by an extraordinary team of people doing something really hard and having a great time doing it. And you renewed all of our faith in humanity, that people will grapple and grasp onto the positive and lift one another up and share the moon joy. So thank you. So I'm clapping back to all of you. Thank you so much. So I'm excited to spend some time sharing with you about the mission, but basically we're turning it back over to you, the audience. So this is Choose Your Own Adventure tonight. And so we're going to take questions from the crowd until we're out of time. And so if we got runners with lights, does that light mean we got one? Okay. Or were you actually going to start?
We can start, but I think it's great if we take questions from the audience. I just have one question first, if that's okay. In an age of advanced technology, where we can rely on autonomous rovers and space telescopes for space exploration, why does it still matter to have humans at the heart of missions like this?
Well, I think I just answered that, and I think we just felt it at the beginning of the show. And robotics and technology is the most amazing partner for us as humans to explore and to discover ourselves and to share it back. But to have humans go and absorb it and to try, and you'll see I really struggle to find the words to describe what I truly experienced. Even the pictures don't do it justice. But to send the humans has a different connection to it. And it's in our DNA. We are a species of explorers. We have never stood still. We have always been pushing ourselves. The reason that we survive and thrive here on this planet is because humans learned to collaborate. We learned to work together, first as groups and as villages, eventually cities, and then countries. And we're still working on our collaboration. We got a little work to do on the planet. We're not quite there yet. But because we have been able to collaborate, we have been able to do extraordinary things. And we are always going to push humans to answer those profound questions about where we are and how we're here. And I'll tell you, when I was in deep space, it's beautiful to see the planet even from a few thousand kilometers away, but when I was in deep space and I was looking back at planet Earth, it was something extraordinary. I couldn't always see it. It depended on the lighting, because we have all these constraints on the vehicle with respect to thermal. And so, but if the spacecraft was in the right orientation with the sun properly hidden from view and not glaring on the windows, I could see, the Earth, this globe. It really is a sphere. And then in the background, I could see the galaxy, but not the way I see it from planet Earth. I could see it not as a painting on a mural, but as a three-dimensional, almost like a diorama, and it was all around me. I was in it. And I could see that some stars were further and some were closer. And robots just can't do that, unfortunately. And so we're always going to send humans. So thank you, Paul.
So, I'd like to turn it over to the audience. If you have a question, please just put up your hand, and when Jeremy recognizes you, one of our runners with a blue light, will come with a microphone so you can stay in your seat and ask your question. Thank you very much.
We're going over here first.
Okay, so hi Jeremy, my name's Adam. And hi Jeremy, my name's Elias. How did being bilingual help you in your journey to becoming an astronaut? And
Yeah. Thank you, guys. My journey into becoming bilingual was a pretty long one. I grew up in a very English part of Ontario, and I took French in school, but I probably never actually heard a native French speaker for the beginning of my life. And it was really the military that started to really provide the opportunities to truly embrace the culture, and then living in Quebec, and eventually coming to understand that language is not just communicating. It's not just a translation of the words from one language to another. It is a culture. It represents a culture. The way you speak in a different language changes your perspective almost. Not almost, it does. And that's actually a beautiful and enriching thing when you truly experience that. And so it certainly equipped me to communicate with other people, but more than that, it taught me an appreciation for cultures. And beyond language, I'm wearing this patch, which was donated, or not donated, but it was gifted to Canada from an Anishinaabe artist for the Artemis II mission. But this is another expression, and by spending time with those elders, a true appreciation for diversity and different ways of looking at the world and culture. So great question, guys. Thanks.
My name's Lila. How did the Artemis II mission change your life?
Well, Isla. When I used to walk on stage, people didn't stand up and clap. That's one way it changed my life. But, and on that note, I'll say that the way that I am able to stand up here and absorb that is because I will try to spend my time being a mirror to reflect it back at Canadians, and often use that opportunity and that voice to explain that from in here, inside this brain, like nothing is different about me than from you. We are all just the same. We all add value. We all have the same value in the world. And I was put in this position because of the vision of thousands of people over decades that had tremendous courage and pushed the boundaries and put Canada in this position to be the second country in the world to send a human into deep space. And I played my small role, but so did thousands of other people. And so that aspect of my life is very different. But the other thing that it did is it reinforced things that I already knew to be true, but it gave me a new conviction. And what I mean by that is I already knew we lived on this precious planet, flying through space, in this unimaginably large universe. But to go and witness it with my own eyes gave me a new perspective, enriched gratitude for what we have on this planet, and this new conviction to really not have any tolerance for taking it for granted and for not collaborating and lifting one another up on this planet. When you first get to space, you look back, when you're close to Earth, you can still see land features that you recognize. You can still look and you can say, oh, that's Australia. Oh, there's North America. But it's not long on your way to the moon when you're looking back, and you no longer try to connect to a spot on the Earth. You just connect to the Earth. You just look home and you're like, oh, there's tiny Earth over there. And you're just connected with that planet, that place that you're from. And so it has been a reminder to have gratitude for what we have been gifted here on planet Earth. Even if we don't understand all of it or why or how, it is an extraordinary gift to be a human living on this planet. Do you have one up there?
Me?
I was going up in the balcony. Do the lights in the balcony, hide them behind your back if you don't have a question. Okay, let's go down there.
Hi, Jeremy.
Okay, we'll come back up there after. We're committed down here now.
Hi, Jeremy. My name is Ayanj, and my question is, what subjects do you need to know to become an astronaut?
Yeah, which subjects do you need to know to become an astronaut? It's not that specific, actually. So we historically have looked for astronauts who have demonstrated an aptitude for science and mathematics and medicine, for example, or biology. Not because we really are so particular about what they already know. We just want to make sure that they have the aptitude and the hunger and the thirst to learn what we need them to learn to go do the job as an astronaut. And so the real answer to your question is you need to be thirsty to learn. You need to demonstrate to us that you want to learn. You want to answer those why questions. You want to go to the Science Center. That makes you excited. And so as you go through your academic career, look for things that you're interested in and then learn everything that you can about it. And those are the subjects that will take you to exactly where you need to be in the world to share your gifts. I'm going to use this opportunity to talk a little bit more about this patch that was gifted to me. And in it is a representation of one indigenous traditional knowledge from the Anishinaabe culture. And it was placed in here just to be one example of the depth and beauty of indigenous knowledge that might make Canadians more interested to go learn more, maybe spend more time with elders and understand their perspectives. But on this patch are 7 animals, and I hope you'll go home and look it up on the internet, on the Canadian Space Agency website if you haven't before. And these animals each represent a teaching. And so the buffalo is respect, the eagle is love, the bear is courage, the sabe or the Sasquatch is honesty, the beaver is wisdom, the wolf is humility, and the turtle is truth. And each one of these has a teaching. And I'm going to tell you the teaching of the beaver, because this is the one that places you in the right spot in the world to make a contribution. And the teaching of the beaver is that the beaver has a very special gift. We all know what the beaver's gift is, right? It can chew down trees. It's a pretty extraordinary gift. If you really think about it, like, can you imagine walking up to a big tree and just chewing that down? No. And if I told you we had a rodent in Canada that chewed down big trees with its teeth, you'd probably be like, I'm not so sure. But we have just come to accept this as truth. But it's a pretty extraordinary gift. And the teaching is that the beaver has the wisdom to use its gift in a way that harnesses the power of water to alter its environment that supports other creatures in using their gifts. And the teaching goes that in each and every one of us, every single one of you, even you, Isla, is a special gift. And we will have joy in our lives when we are using our gifts to lift up others and bringing their gifts to the world. And so when you're thinking about what you are going to do or pursue, you're following that gift that is inside of you. And you'll know when you're in it because you'll have energy and excitement about what you're doing. All right, so do we have one up there? Okay.
Hi, my name is Mawa. I had a question. How was the sunset in space?
I think it was Lola, is that right? I get that right?
Moa.
The sunset in space. Well, we saw a couple different aspects to that. When we went around the Earth initially after liftoff, we did get in the shadow of the Earth from the sun. But the most impressive sunset in space was the one on the far side of the moon. And so we had just spent the morning observing the moon, getting close to it, And then all of a sudden the sun started to get close to the moon, and it was shining, beaming in the windows, super bright. Like, this is bright for me. I can barely see you guys, but this was super bright coming to the window. So bright we had our solar eclipse glasses on, you know, the cheap cardboard ones you get from the Science Center when there's a eclipse going on. That's what we had. And we had those on, and I was looking at the sun and watching for it to go behind the moon. And my job was to record observations of the solar corona as it disappeared behind the moon. And so I was busy doing that. And so I watched the sun go behind. As soon as it went behind the limb of the moon, I lifted up my solar eclipse glasses. I started making observations of the corona. Reed was in the other window. He was snapping photos of it. And then I sort of finished what I was doing with the corona as it disappeared, and I just sort of like brought my perspective outwards, like expanded it to look at where I was like, whoa, what's going on with the moon? And I looked back where the moon was, and it was just gone. And all around where the moon was this perfectly round halo, this luminescent halo, and then this black hole in the galaxy is what it looked like, because all behind the halo was like the galaxy. It was so dark because we were in the moon's shadow. I could just see the galaxy laid out behind where the moon was, and then just this hole in the galaxy. And Victor was on the radio, and he said, we just went sci-fi. And that was the perfect description for what we were seeing, because it was unbelievable. And you had this sense inside of you like, wow, like, don't go in there. And there are pictures of it. In the video, there are images of that time frame that you saw, but it was very different for us. I think maybe because our eyes were adjusted to the bright sun coming in the capsule and then it had disappeared. But for me, I couldn't see anything but this eerie black hole in the galaxy. So that was the most spectacular sunset I've ever seen. Let's go back there.
Hi, Jeremy. My name is Malcolm. My grandfather was a fighter jet pilot, and whenever I went to his house and visited him, he's no longer with us, but he'd always say to me, "Where'd you come from, Malcolm? The moon?" And so, just for him, I wanted to ask you, where'd you come from, Jeremy? The moon?
Well, thank you for your grandfather's service, and I could only recently tell you that I just came from the moon, yes.
And just another quick one was, I think it was Victor that was saying, the human brain has not evolved to see some of the stuff that you're seeing. It's a pretty old operating system. How did it feel to see things that are almost unbelievable to think of, for humans in the past?
Yeah. Something that would kind of give you a sense of that is, and it should surprise me, actually, because the three people I flew with, Reed, Victor, and Christina, had spent months on the International Space Station seeing the Earth from space, seeing the stars from low Earth orbit, from 4 kilometers up. And, Christina lived up there close to a year. And it was interesting. I mean, I was just in awe. Every time I would see something at the window, I'd be blown away. And I was, everything was crazy. And, but even for them, by the time we got up to the first, like halfway through the first orbit, they were just totally blown away by the different perspective. And it happened all the time, multiple times a day. Somebody would say there's something in the window, and we would all float over and look at it and just be awestruck. The thing that would cause me to pause was that three-dimensionality of the galaxy, and it would make me feel very small, very insignificant, is just the sense of what it felt like in my heart and my soul. Yet, at the same time, very powerful to be there witnessing it. Very powerful as a human species, not as an individual, but as a human species, that we could come together and build this system to throw 4 humans at 39 times the speed of sound out towards the moon and back. That's kind of what that felt like. Insignificant as an individual, powerful as a collaboration.
Hi, Jeremy. My name's Anthony. I'm a retired Air Cadet, and I'm here with my friend Tyler, who is a current Air Cadet. So I just want to mention that we are all watching you with great interest. You are inspiring all of us across the country. But my question is, with what you mentioned regarding the Artemis II mission, regarding people, connecting people all around the world, we're looking at building a lunar base. And we're going to need to have international cooperations for that. We have a lot of existing ties right now. Do you think that the prospect of a lunar base will allow us to collaborate with partners we aren't currently working with?
Well, first, shout out to Air Cadets and the whole cadet movement. Extraordinary youth organization, changed the course of my life, without a doubt. One of the most... those folks definitely deserve a round of applause. They're just out there lifting up our youth with the goal of teaching them to be good Canadian citizens, to learn the art of leadership, which is really lifting others up and then building self-confidence. So extraordinary program, and just so proud of everybody who supports that and participates in it. As far as the moon base goes, I'm actually really excited about the changes that I've been seeing, and it's not, when we make these changes, what I really appreciate about organizations is when they adapt. And the messaging will change, and people can view that as something was wrong, and it's not like that. You want adaptive organizations that can learn and can identify opportunities, and that's what I feel like is happening right now. The NASA administrator, Jared Isaacman, is just very bold, a real visionary. He's on his own accord flown to space twice. He's just a tremendous leader, and he's brought together this vision of building a moon base, of going there to stay, and it is very open and inviting to international collaboration. It really has one caveat. You are welcome to participate, but you have to bring value. There is no free ride. And so and that applies to everyone around the world. And the more, the merrier, because there's a lot of work to do, and there is enough for everybody. And there's enough for everybody to find ways that enrich their own lives, but contribute to this global initiative. And for Canada, we're very fortunate in that we've got these decades of space experience. We've got academia and industry that is just geared up and ready to take on these challenges. And I look for things that I call the triple play. I stole this idea from someone else, but it does a good job of communicating it. So a triple play for a country like Canada is something that we invest in that is innovative, it will drive our economy, and we can export around the world. That's the first part. The second part, the double play, is if it meets our defense needs right now, because we as a country have decided we are going to increase our sovereign defense capability inside our nation. And when you can execute defense spending in a way that's dual use, that has use when you're not at war, or it's just used as a deterrence, that's the double play. And then the triple play is when it's valuable to our international partnership, specifically with NASA leading the moon base, then we can contribute it, and in return, you will see Canadians like you walking and working on the moon.
Thank you.
All right, how about right there?
Hi, Jeremy. My name is Nate. I just wanted to know, what did it feel like when you lost connection with Earth?
Yeah, what did it feel like? So as we flew around the far side of the moon, we couldn't talk to Earth because, well, the moon was in the way, and you can't shoot radio frequencies through or signals through the moon's surface, and so we were just out of contact with humanity for about 45 minutes. We were very prepared for that. We knew it was coming, and it wasn't a big surprise. And we were very busy at that time because this was the closest we were getting to the moon as well. And so we were taking a lot of observations. We never really wanted to stop observing the moon. We were just so taken by it and wanted to capture as much science as we could, as many images as we could. But we did pause for a couple moments just to kind of, as a crew of 4, come together and acknowledge that we were really on the far side of the moon. The Earth had truly just set behind the moon. That was crazy. And we broke out some maple cookies. We had a maple cookie to celebrate. Just seemed like the right thing to do. and maple cookies make Reed happy. We were all pretty happy that day, but we used 4 maple cookies up that day. And then we cheersed our maple cookies, and then we got back to work. Let's go there. And then we'll go over there. I think you have one over there too.
My name is Audrey, and my name is Olivia. My question is, how long did it take? And what was your favorite part?
All right, Audrey and Olivia. Well, our journey, depending on how you counted it, was 9 to 10 days and long. And so we blasted off from Florida, and we spent a day flying around Earth. And we weren't that close. We actually went out to 60,000 kilometers. That's a long ways away. Remember, the space station's at 400 kilometers. So we went really pretty far into deep space and then came back 12 hours later to test out our life support systems before we committed to accelerating to 39 times the speed of sound and then heading out to the moon. Because once you do that, you have a lot of energy and you're really going somewhere, and you can't just turn around and come home if the carbon dioxide scrubber is not working. So we spent that time testing the vehicle. We were happy with the vehicle. Then we went to the moon. That took 4 days to get to the moon, and then 4 more days to get back. And well, the favorite part was pretty much all of it, but we joked as a crew, because if, based on our orbital mechanics, I think you guys learned a little bit about it earlier, if we had wanted to stay in space longer, we needed to do a perigee raise burn when we were on the far side of the moon and conveniently out of contact with Houston, so they couldn't stop us. And so we joked, and a little bit serious, that wouldn't it be funny if we just raised our perigee while we were back here, just a little bit, enough to miss the Earth's atmosphere, and then we'll just go around again and do another lap. But cooler heads prevailed, and we decided we didn't want to upset Houston. The other thing that I think you will find interesting is just how fun it is to live in microgravity. So the views are amazing. I've talked a little bit about that, but just floating around all the time and playing with your food in space and throwing things over to your buds, and when you want to do something that's sort of on the floor, you don't bend over, you just flip upside down, and all those things were just really, really neat. Sleeping in space was just all of that was a very cool experience. I highly recommend it if you get the chance. All right, let's go there, and then I think I'm supposed to ask for a question from a school at some point, so maybe we can do that after this one.
How did it feel to have no gravity, and were you scared?
Well, I talked a little bit about the no gravity. It just felt awesome. Like, you would love it. This would be a particularly cool spot to turn off gravity, actually, where we are right now. Because there are a lot of open spaces, and there are a lot of great handrails around, things to grab onto and push off of and do magic, like flying tricks and stuff. And I could just float up to you, grab you, and throw you safely across the whole room. And then you would just fly over here and bounce off this curtain thing and then come flying back into the middle of space. So microgravity is just a ton of fun. What was the second part of the question? I lost it. Scared. Oh, yeah, scared. Oh, that's a great one to talk about. So I definitely get scared. Everybody gets scared. Anyone who tells you they're not scared of things, they're just lying. We all get scared. The thing about a space mission is you know it's coming. You prepare for it for a long time. You talk about all the risks. You learn about how to manage the risks. And then you understand that there are these things that you don't control that could happen that could make it very scary. And you're really hoping that they don't come to fruition. But you sort of get yourself in the mindset as an operator that you've accepted whatever is going to happen. You'll control the parts that you can. You're ready for those ones. And for the ones you can't, well, then it just is the way it is. And that's like everything in life, right? And so I did not find myself scared on launch day or during the mission, but I did find myself always a little bit on edge. And I guess that's a bit of fear. But if you watched us, we were happy. We were finding a lot of joy in what we were doing. But we were always guarded against what was potentially coming next, a hurdle that would be very challenging for us. We never let our guard down. And what I would tell you about fear is you will experience fear in your life, normally when things happen that you weren't expecting or that you're really unhappy about. They will cause you fear. And when fear shows up, it's great. It's like your body's telling you there's a problem. And that's wonderful. It's like a smoke detector in your house. Your house is on fire, you hear the smoke detector. You're not meant to just sit there and panic. You're meant to do something about it. And so remember this, when you feel fear, you acknowledge it, and then you gotta let it go, and you gotta start working the problem. Let go of the emotion, get some help, talk to people about what's causing you fear, and then work through it. You don't have to live in constant fear or anxiety, but it is a smoke detector for you to tell you, you need to get help. You're going to need friends or family to help you through it.
Hey, Jeremy, I have a question back here, and then I'll read one of the school questions to you, okay?
Yep.
Beautiful.
Hi, Jeremy. I'm Elisa, and I'm wondering if there's any illnesses or health concerns that you can get from being in space.
There's some health concerns, I suppose. There's no illnesses that we know of. We've been flying in people in space for a long time now. What we guard against is not taking any illnesses with us. And that's why we quarantine for 2 weeks before we launch, because we don't want to bring it with us and then get sick while we're in space. But space has its risks associated with it. The biggest one that we talk about is radiation. So we live, remember I said we should have gratitude for this magical place we live on planet Earth. It is such a marvel. It's got this amazing magnetic field, so like a magnet that protects us on the Earth. And it shields us from most of the sun's radiation and most of the universe's radiation that's flying in all the time. And that's what allows humans to survive here. Without that, we really would be in trouble. And so when astronauts leave the protection of the Earth's magnetic field, like we did, we start to get a higher dose of radiation. Now, we were monitoring that the whole time. And for my lifetime, it's not a huge dose of radiation. But when we want to send people to live on Mars, for example, this is going to be a much bigger challenge. And when they get to Mars, we're going to have to protect them from radiation in another way. Their shelter is going to have to keep them safe from radiation because they'll be getting such a high dose. Same if we want to stay on the moon for a long time. For a short time, we're okay. If you want to stay there for months and months, we're going to need protection from the radiation on the moon. Yeah, go ahead, the school's question.
All right, school question here. So this is from Dublin Heights Elementary School, a grade 1 class. What was the best part about being in space? Did anything scare you?
Well, I do kind of think we talked about some of these things. But the other thing I'll mention on fear is we have this caution and warning system. So, if you're driving a vehicle, there might be like a little warning light that'll come on if the oil pressure is low or the tire pressure is low. We have that for our Integrity, our Orion spacecraft. It's a little more obnoxious than that. It sounds like a big alarm, and you have emergencies, warnings, and cautions. And that thing went off every night except one and woke us up, which was not awesome, but and it turned out though, and you never know this, like when it goes off, you treat it like you assume it's real and it's bad. Now we had a lot of false alarms because we're still getting to know the Orion spacecraft with people on it. And so we're still setting a lot of limits and understanding how it behaves in deep space. And so we were very conservative in our alarms, but that doesn't mean it didn't get our attention every single night and multiple times in the day. We had a false fire alarm. We had about 20 minutes before we burn for the translunar injection, we've got the warning that said cabin leak suspected. That's a bad one. And especially when you're 20 minutes away from accelerating to 39 times the speed of sound and heading off into deep space. And so at that moment, that got all our attention. And I don't think many people that were watching knew it on the ground because we never said those words over the loop, not because we were hiding it, just because I was reading it on the display, and I knew Houston was reading it on their screen, and so we were just talking about dP dt, change in pressure, delta pressure over time, and so we were kind of inadvertently speaking in code. So in our minds, we're like, well, in 20 minutes, we're either going to the moon or we're getting into our spacesuits to try and survive for the next 24 hours and set ourselves up to come home. So those are the kinds of things that do get your attention when you're in space. I don't know if there is water anywhere, but I've been talking all day. And so like if a beaker of water showed up at some point, that would be amazing. Okay, where do we want to go next? And then we'll come over here. Oh, I like the space helmet.
Thank you. Hello, Jeremy. I'm Justice, and one of my questions is, what were you thinking while you were entering and exiting the atmosphere of Earth?
Oh, thank you. Look at that. Aren't I lucky? Water just shows up. Okay, what was it like entering and entering and exiting? Sorry, you're going to have to say it again, Justice, one more time.
What were you thinking while you were exiting and entering the atmosphere of Earth?
Well, on the way up, on the rocket ride, I was just sort of giggling to myself and thinking, this is so cool. In fact, I held it in as long as I could. You want to keep it to operational comm only. It's a very intense moment. But we got to a point after the solid rocket boosters came off, and it was kind of a bit of a lull in what we were looking for and the milestones. And I just couldn't hold it anymore. And I just said, this is so cool. So that's recorded. So I know that's what I was thinking in that moment. On the way in, it's one of those moments where a lot of things have to work, and it's one of the ones that you don't have a lot of control over. So there's a few things you can do on entry to save yourselves, but there's others that you just can't do anything about. The heat shield, the parachutes, they just have to work. And you've kind of bet everything on it. And so on the way down, I was just trying to enjoy the experience. I was listening to the thrusters. They sound like little explosions going on. I was watching the plasma out the window. It started out as just like this red hue, and then it enveloped the whole vehicle, just crawling back. And then it got dark, thick red. We were really in a fireball. And then it turned to green and blue. I didn't even know that was a thing. And it was flashing. It was flashing so much I put my visor down because I thought it might, hurt my eyes a little bit. And it looked like somebody was welding outside the window. And I watched that for a while. I felt the G-forces get up to about 4 times the force of gravity, pushing you into your seat. And then we sort of tipped over. We were through the most of the G-forces, and we were just waiting for the parachutes. And then the drogue chutes came out, and it got really crazy in there. It was just whipping us around. And then the drogue chutes release, and it feels like the Tower of Terror in like one of those amusement parks where they just drop you. That's what it felt like. But that only lasted like about a second. And then the main parachutes came out. And at that point, that's when Christina and I grabbed each other's hands and celebrated, because that was like the first moment I was like, we're really going to make it. It's nuts.
Thank you.
How do you digest food? Hi, I'm Lily, and my question is, how do you digest food in zero gravity?
Yeah, great question. I don't really know the answer. My body did all the work, but it is a good question. But what I'll tell you is I didn't notice anything different. And I found that really interesting. So I had heard before that, everything works. You can swallow normally. But I didn't really notice a difference. I was eating similar foods to eat on Earth, and everything kind of felt normal. So I think the body is extraordinary. It can adapt to being in microgravity and just work. That's pretty neat. We have pretty neat bodies that can just do that. I felt really good in space overall. And then coming back, it was only 10 days. If I'd been gone, half a year or a year, it would have been very different. But since it was only 10 days, I came back and I felt really normal. I was pretty tired. But other than being really tired, I felt pretty normal, which is neat.
Hello, I'm Vivian.
And I'm Claire.
And we're your biggest fans. What went through your mind when you found out you were selected for the Artemis II mission?
Well, thank you, Vivian and Claire. That's quite an honor. At first, it felt like this very special thing, very exciting. It felt exciting. I was like, wow, yes, I mean, this is so cool. I'm going to be one of the first 4 humans to fly on this rocket, and I'm going to get to go and see the moon and fly around the far side. So I was pretty excited. And that lasts like a very short period of time, and then you sort of start to think, wow, this is a big thing. Like, how did this happen? How am I here? Why me? Why not others? And you end up feeling very humbled by this news that you're going to do this. And then you also feel like, I better get to work. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to know. And I better prepare the family and buckle down and start studying and start figuring out how we're going to work with this team to get this done. All right. Is there one up there?
Hello, I'm Simon. And I'm Abel, and we're bigger fans than those guys. My question is, what was entertainment like in space? And my question is, what made you decide that you wanted to be an astronaut?
Okay. Okay, we're not going to get into a competition. I love you all equally. Entertainment in space is the window. And then your friends and playing with your food. Those are probably the 3 things that make spaceflight so fun. Because it really is fun to play with your food in space, and I really do miss that. I intentionally didn't bring anything to fill the gaps because I was hoping I might get bored in space, but it never really happened. There was always so much to do. But I hoped I might get bored and just have more time to just think up there. And when I was falling asleep at night, which didn't take very long because it's pretty tired every night, and it's pretty cozy sleeping in microgravity. I mean, it just doesn't really get any better than that. But for the few moments that I was awake at night, I would spend that time just thinking about where I was and what I had seen. And that was really, that's the best kind of entertainment, inside your own head. What was the second part of the question? I lost it. Oh, yes. Thank you. This is interesting because all astronauts have a very different story to this. Mine is sort of that stereotypical one that I was inspired at a very early age. And I know this story mostly from my mother, but I do remember this page that I used to go look at in encyclopedias. So we had an encyclopedia set at home. Encyclopedias were these books that we used to have. I've already lost all the kids, but they were books because we didn't have the internet. You couldn't just Google something, so you had to go to a book. But you had a book that was just like the internet, and they were on your shelf, and they were in alphabetical order. And I loved airplanes. I don't really know why, but I just did. And I had never been in one, but I would go in Encyclopedia A, and I can still see some of the airplane pictures in my brain from that volume. And one day I happened across Armstrong, and Armstrong was the first human to walk on the moon, and there was a photo of a human standing on the moon. With another astronaut reflected in the visor, and I just thought that was crazy that humans had actually walked on the moon. And so I turned my treehouse into a spaceship, like literally. Like I made a control column out of a hinge and wood, and I had a cardboard that with popsicle sticks I could change the altitude, and I had circuit breakers, which are like switches, light switches from the barn that I put in there so I could turn switches on and off. And I was just exploring space in my imagination, and I just really never stopped wanting to go to space. And then as I went through life, I had done something very important that I didn't know was so important, but this is important for you to know. You don't have to have a career goal. It's not important to know what you want to do when you get older. But you do need to set goals in life for things that you want to accomplish. And when you set a goal, the most important thing you can do if you really want it to come true is tell other people. So you tell family, you tell mentors, you tell teachers, because you don't do anything of significance in your life alone. That's the lesson. You have to work together with others. And so they have to know how to help you. And the other thing that will happen to you is when you have a goal is that I don't know why, but this is almost an absolute, there will be an obstacle placed in your path, something that will stop you. And if nothing shows up, your own brain will do it for you. And you will stop believing that it's possible at some point. And that is when you definitely need help from other people. And they are the ones who will tell you, you should do this, or you should try this. And they will lift you up to try and accomplish that goal.
My name is Pippa. And my name is Scarlett. And our question is, was it fun during takeoff?
Yeah, I did talk about that already, but I'll tell you a little bit more about blast off. One of the things about it was a bit of a surprise, and I know that might seem strange because the clock is counting down and you would think you would just go, but the rocket is so complicated. So many things have to go right in order for us to launch. And I just didn't think it was likely that we would launch on the first try that we were on it and fueled it up. I knew it was possible and I was ready to go, but I thought I was sort of prepared to have to, defuel, detank the vehicle, get back out and go try it another day. We would learn something and then we would fix it and go on. But then T-10 showed up and it was still going. I was like, wow, we might actually go to space today. And so I was sitting there waiting, and then at 8 seconds to go, I heard this and felt this rumbling, which I thought was odd because the engines were supposed to start lighting at 6 seconds. So I was like, oh, that doesn't sound right. But I'd never been on it before, so I didn't really know. But then a couple seconds later, it became obvious that the engines were lighting. And then at T-0, the solids lit, and then we went. Like it just happened. All of a sudden, we were going. And so I was like, all right, here we go. And then the G forces build up, and you get up to about 3G. The engines are throttling back to make sure you don't exceed that initially. Eventually, the solid rocket motors, those big white ones, they burn out. And you really feel that because as the thrust tails off, the G forces come way down, and then they separate. That gets rid of a lot of mass, and then the G forces start picking up again, and the engines throttle up to 100%. And then it's actually like 107%. I don't really know why they do that. I don't know why you would have 107% on your engine. It seems like a bad idea, but that's what we got. And so they throttle up, and we start accelerating more again. It gets up to 3.3 Gs this time, and you ride that all the way to space. It's 8 minutes of that. It's like this amazing sports car that just keeps going. And you're like, this is amazing that we're going so fast. And eventually, the engine's cut off, gunk, and you're floating. And you just smile. All right, I think I probably got time for a couple more questions based on my signals I'm getting. All right, how about we, let's go over there.
Wait, this was us. Hi, my name is Elliot, and me and my two friends beside me are bigger fans than all those other people. And I was wondering, how are you feeling when your toilet broke down? That happened.
All right, where's Elliot? Are you over there? Wave, Elliot. Where would you go? Up top? I lost you. I have no idea where Elliot is.
I'm up here.
Okay, now I see you. All right. Yeah, not awesome when the toilet broke. We weren't super excited about that. It was, the toilet actually worked really great. It was just that the toilet, when you use it, it collects the urine in this tank, and then after so many uses, the tank is full and you have to empty it to space. You have to vent it to space. And at first it was working great, and we were venting urine to space, and it's pretty spectacular to watch. It's like this snowstorm going on outside the window, and just a normal amount of urine makes an incredible snowstorm. Ice crystals are really tiny, I guess, and so it's pretty spectacular, and the sun lights it up, and it truly looks like a blizzard. It's very entertaining to watch. But then that vent line somehow got blocked or frozen. And I don't know that we 100% know the answer yet, but we think it probably froze. slowly over time. And so we couldn't use that tank anymore, so we couldn't use the proper toilet. We had to use our backup toilet system, which was these tubes that we would urinate. They're special. They have all this cool design to them to help make it work in space. And then we could vent that to space through a different vent line. And so we made it work. It's just a little bit more effort, but we missed our toilet for sure. All right. So I do think this is my last one. Wave, who wants this one the most? All right. I saw the most waving up there. Okay.
I have a question. My name's Jacob.
My name is Zev.
And my question is, how loud is the Orion?
My question is when the other people on the ship were like, we saw like the dark side of the moon, but when you actually saw it for the first time, what did you think? What were your feelings?
When I look up at the moon now, I've been out a few clear nights with my binoculars staring at it, and of course now I see the near side. I miss the far side. It was a pretty cool place. But all these memories of how I saw it differently come flooding back. Some of the things that were not obvious to me before I went, I had studied the moon's surface so much with the geology team using satellite imagery that we have. We have great imagery of the entire moon. And so I had seen all of the far side. I knew the landmarks, and I was excited to see them in real life. But what I hadn't really put together was just how amazing the human brain and human eyes are, that you can just scan across the whole moon. Whereas a picture is like a small snippet that's mosaicked, stitched together to create the pictures that we had studied on the far side of the moon. And all of the pictures are taken perpendicular, like the camera is perpendicular to the surface. It's always pointing straight down. And so you just have a different perspective as opposed to when you're over at the side and you look over like here and you see, oh, wow, look, I can see this entire new angle of the ridge on Oriental, or I could see these other features that I could just not perceive from the imagery. Now that I look at the imagery, I see evidence of what I saw, but you don't see it the same way. And so the three-dimensionality that I got to see of the moon was pretty extraordinary. Another one, like looking down at Oriental, which is this huge crater, like 1,000 kilometers across. And you're looking at something that is so deep, like multiple times the Grand Canyon deep. And I could see straight down the cliff walls, like on the northeast side of it, there were these really steep, almost perfect sheer walls. And on the walls, I could see the texture to the walls. I could imagine climbers down there on the walls. And so I really just do see the moon differently. What an extraordinary opportunity as a human. If you get the chance to go to the moon, I highly recommend you take it. It is totally worth the trip. So I think if I follow my instructions correctly, I'm supposed to wait for Paul to come back out. But if he doesn't come, I'll just keep going.
Please keep going.
Am I allowed to keep going?
Certainly another question or two.
Okay,
sure.
How about another couple questions? Okay, let's go there.
Hi, my name is Noah. Will people ever colonize Mars, and will Elon Musk ever have like space Teslas on Mars?
Well, let's just do this little thought experiment. So you hang on to the mic for a second because I'm going to ask you a question. So, what do you think?
The space Teslas would be cool.
Yeah. Do you think people will colonize Mars?
Yes.
Why do you think that?
I don't know.
I think they will because we have always explored, and we already want to go to Mars. How many people in here would like to go to Mars, assuming it was safe to do so? Yeah. Why not? I mean, Mars is going to be this spectacular place. It's not as good as Earth. Like, big spoiler, right? Like, this is the best planet that we have the technology to get to anyway, and even that we know of so far. This is by far the best planet. But Mars would be really cool to visit. I don't know that I'd want to live there forever. There's a lot of things I would miss. But Mars would be really cool to visit. Also, Mars is this really neat Rosetta Stone of maybe our past, where we think our leading theories are there used to be a lot more water on the surface of Mars. Where'd all the water go? And there's a mystery there to be solved. And can that happen to our planet? And the answer probably is yes. But there's a lot of evidence on Mars that would be really helpful for us to understand about how a planet can change, how quickly it can change, and maybe what impact we could have on this planet. Because right now, it is truly the only place we have the technology to live and exist on. But I think we will go there because there's so much to learn, and it will definitely be worth the trip to head to Mars. Now, did you say I forgot a question? Did I forget a question up there? What was the second one? Just shout it out. How fast is the Orion? Oh, how loud is the Orion? It depends. When we were in space, like deep space, and we had the service module, which is like the back part with the solar arrays and the engines on it, it's not that loud. When the thrusters fire, some of the thrusters kind of make like a rumble. We would call it the rumbly road. You kind of feel the vehicle go, but it wasn't very loud. When we separated from the service module just before we re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, it's really loud because now all the thrusters are right next to you that are working, and they sound like explosions going off. And you've got like your headset on, your hearing protection, and a helmet, and it still sounds loud. It gets really loud in there. Day-to-day living in Orion, it's sort of like living in a computer, like inside a computer. The fans are always running. There's just always this background noise. It's never, ever quiet, except for when you get a fire alarm and all of that stuff turns off. Then it gets deathly quiet in there, and you're like, ooh, that's weird. All right. One more question up here. And then I think I'll bring Paul out.
What was your favorite part? I mean, how old were you when you went to space?
We might have to talk about manners. No, it's okay. I'm just kidding. That's totally fine. I don't mind at all. I turned 50 in January, so I was 50 years old when I went to space. But I hope, would you like to go to space someday?
Do you want to go to space? Yes.
Okay, I hope you are younger when you get to space. I hope you go soon. It's definitely worth going. As Paul walks out here, folks, what I would love to just reinforce for all of you, other than this magical journey that I had and the privilege that I had and the gratitude I have for that experience, for all of Canada that put us in this position, I would emphasize the teaching of the beaver that I shared. As Canadians and as humans on this planet, it's just so important that we never lose sight of the fact that we all have equal value and that there are many challenges on this planet, but collaboration has to be our stated goal. We have to lift one another up. We cannot accept anything less than us working together, sharing our gifts, and finding joy. Thank you, everybody.
That's incredible. Thank you so much. That's incredible. Yes, I think so. I think you can choose which side. What an incredible evening. On behalf of the Ontario Science Centre, I want to thank you, all of you, for joining us and for bringing your energy and sense of wonder as we listen to Colonel Hansen. Thank you to the teachers and students across Ontario whose questions made this evening even more engaging. And a special thank you again to all the teams who made tonight happen. I don't get many chances to say publicly how much I appreciate the teams at the Ontario Science Centre and how lucky I am to work with the greatest people on this planet. Events like this are also made possible through the generosity of our supporters, many of whom are with us here tonight. If tonight sparked something in you, reminding you of the power of science, discovery, and human adventure, we invite you to consider making a donation. You can do so easily through our tip-tap stations at the front, or there's a QR code here on the screen, or there was supposed to be a QR code here on the screen. There it is, through which you could support the Ontario Science Centre and allow us to continue to do these wonderful events. Thank you again for being here. Keep asking questions, keep exploring, and keep looking up in the skies. Have a great evening.